Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our February workshop, our Pitchmasters Pitch Prep workshop. My name is Lisa Friedlander. I'm the CRO over here at Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. Next is an award-winning platform for legal services for startup and emerging growth companies, and Pitchmasters is just one of the many things we do to help provide holistic value-added services to entrepreneurs. In particularly, along with our initiative Next Raise, which is focused on helping connect founders and funders and help entrepreneurs raise a successful round of capital. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Krista Smith from Deloitte, who is one of our sponsors and guest judges, and love, Krista, for you to introduce yourself and Deloitte.
Sure. I'm Krista Smith. I'm a managing director with Deloitte. I am part of the audit practice, and we provide audit and tax services to early stage companies. Nationally, it's a portfolio of about 600 companies. Locally, in the greater Washington area, it's about 40. But what we try to do, we like to say we can take you from startup to IPO. We keep you out of our traditional busy season and have competitive rates for early stage companies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Krista. And we have two fantastic entrepreneurs here today. Daniel just let me know if our third does not join. He has a pitch ready to go. So Daniel, love to have you if we still have the time, and would love to kick it off. Ruth, as a reminder, you have 6 minutes to pitch, and then we'll give you some feedback on what we're seeing. So the floor is yours. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and share your screen and get started.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm going to get my screen share. Give me just 1 minute and make sure you guys can see this.
Take your time.
Get you set up on my end over here. Okay. All right. Can you guys all see one slide on the screen?
I can.
All right, perfect.
That's great.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me, Lisa. It's great to connect. And I'm very excited to be here. My name is Ruth Schroner. I am from Kansas City, Kansas, and my company is Posh on the Go. We are a technology company, and we are a marketplace platform that allows you to book beauty services and then have them delivered to your door whenever and whenever you want. In this, we understand it can definitely sound like a surface level business, right? It might be skin deep. However, our mission is so much bigger than beauty services. We're truly on a mission to empower the small beauty business owner. And our biggest dream is to create a technology company that paves a path for other women in technology as well and become a technology leader internationally. So with that, a little bit about how I got here. And usually the question I get asked is, am I part of the beauty industry? And I'm not. So a little bit about me. I have my master's degree in instructional technology and design. And in 2014, I was using that in a career. However, we were struggling paycheck to paycheck, although my husband and I both had advanced careers. And I'll talk about how that ties in a minute. With that, I ended up partnering with a national wellness brand that allowed me to use their technology, their products, and their platform to create my own personal brand underneath their umbrella. That opportunity introduced me to this incredible community of empowering business owners that were primarily females. They helped me learn marketing, sales strategies, all of those things. In that, I grew a multi-million-dollar business and generated over tens of millions of dollars in sales over the next decade with that company. I was then doing keynote speaking, helping other small business owners learn about sales and marketing within their own business. And I was getting my hair and makeup done throughout the US as I did these keynotes. And in that, it was always a challenge to find hair and makeup artists for these speeches. And so one day I was like, why isn't this a thing? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And as I went and I talked to my now product developer, we talked about what it would take to grow this platform, grow this technology, grow this company. And to be quite honest, I was like, I don't know if that's worth it. I continued to do some market research though, and I saw that on the consumer side, the woman like me, the busy entrepreneurial mother, our need for this was going up. After the pandemic, 438%, there was a web search increase in the need for at-home beauty services. We saw that over the next 10 years, the desire for beauty services is going up even more over the next 10 years. But on the flip side of that, we saw that the beauty professionals' career sustainability was meek. 30% leave by year 3. And if you think about it, these are young females who graduate from high school. They go to a 2-year or 1-year technical school, and then they're left to figure out how to build a business on their own. They know how to cut hair. They know how to do makeup. But outside of that, it's just, here you go grow a business now. And even though I was like, oh, the risk is not worth it for me to get an at-home blowout, I couldn't stop thinking about the beauty professional in this. And I could not stop thinking about how the business model is set up right now in the beauty industry, and how if we brought in a technology and platform in a community, we could really make a big impact for those professionals and allow them to have a more lucrative and sustainable career. In that, I thought about the platform that my wellness company gave me a decade ago and changed my entire life. And that empowering community, the technology, the product that was amazing. I thought, what if we could harness all of that into a new beauty industry and create something, a new business model and a new technology in the beauty industry? So that is how I got here. And in that, our first iteration is our MVP of our platform, Poshed on the Go. In this, we launched a product that allows the at-home client to get onto our app and book beauty services to come to their door. On the flip side, we allow our beauty pros to operate as independent marketplace professionals. So they get to set their menu, their prices, and operate underneath our brand umbrella. The beauty industry is a $65 billion industry, and this is actually just the beauty service industry. So, salon services, things like that. Within that, there is a $32 billion industry that operates on top of the independent beauty professional, which is our target there. And we're targeting the 30,000 beauty pros to join our platform within that and generate a $3 billion business within that. We know that Gen Z dominates our marketplace convenience app. So there's 70% of the customers who are using Grubhub, Instacart, laundry services. It's that Gen Z who's pushing that consumerism, which means this type of technology is only going to go up. We also know that since social media and the pandemic, there's been a lot of highlighting on personal appearance, and we're seeing them spend more money than ever before on their personal grooming habits. Our revenue model, as we go to market, we start with a revenue share, and that's a commission cut. And so our pros come on, they keep 75% of their service, we keep 25%. Our goal, though, is to move them into the second option here, this pro subscription, in which they operate their own marketplace profile on our platform. And then other areas of revenue, educational events, and client convenience fees and client packages as well. Some of our competitors in this space, I'm really going to focus on this second column here, are the other platforms similar to us: Soothe, Glam Squad, and Priv. These are 3 of the biggest players in the arena right now. The biggest advantage that we have over them is that we are a beauty pro-centric platform, whereas it is more of a transactional process relationship. We are really focused on providing a platform and a marketplace that provides to our beauty professional and caters to their needs first and builds that strong relationship and community within them.
Ruth,
yep.
Sorry to interrupt, but you're over 6, so I just need you to wrap it up.
Okay. In that we are, let me just click over here. We're raising $5 million valuation, post money 10%, raising $750,000 to build our team further, build our technology further, and strategic hires in regards to leaders in the beauty industry.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Great pitch. Krista, do you want to start us off with some feedback?
Sure. Ruth, nice to meet you. I thought you brought great energy. You did spend a lot of time defining the need, and maybe it's me, because I'm a woman. I don't think you need to spend that much time. Like, I get it. And my concern at the time, and it played out, is you miss the back end.
Yep.
Of presentation and the what are you looking for? How are you going to make money? So that's really just kind of my overall comment is spend less time defining the need and how you got there,
Mhm.
so you can get to the back end stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
I
are
have
rare that I'm pitching to a woman, I'll be honest. It's
Okay.
not typically, you're not the typical audience. Usually it's like, well, so much about this industry. And I'm like,
Well, that's
well,
my
that might be
question. Like,
the,
and maybe the
yeah.
guys can chime in. Like, I don't know if they understand the need, and if they needed that much time.
Even still though, like I had the same thing. I
Yeah.
even noted you 3.5 minutes
Okay.
of a 6-minute pitch. And 6 minutes is a long time, by the way. Sometimes you're not necessarily going to even have that long, but 3.5 minutes was your how I got. You spent that whole 3.5 minutes to the how I got here,
Okay.
which included background on you, which I thought that was great. You need to shrink that
Concise.
down massively, massively.
Mhm.
And then the problem and the solution, even if you're a man with some of the, just a handful of these statistics, if you combine slide 2 and 3, on-demand services, glam squat, like you just need a couple, even if you're a guy, there's just a couple. And if men's haircuts are one of your top thing, well, who knew, like, so you unfortunately did not get the important meat across of what you're trying to do here, which is how much traction, what are you seeing, what success are you having, what are you learning, the differentiate and the competition. For me, I'm most familiar with Glam Squad. Beauty procentric, I have no idea what that means. You didn't have time to explain it. So you just unfortunately ran out of time, in order to really get to the meat of this. This is a marketplace. It's really a challenging business. Love to know what traction you're seeing, how many stylists and nail, professionals you have on board, you've been able to onboard, how many services have been booked, what have those been, like, you unfortunately didn't get to any of that. So all I have to go on is, this is another cool glam squad. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. Ruth certainly seems to be an impressive woman. Sat has an impressive career. But I needed a little bit more. The pitch is the trailer to the movie. It's not the whole movie, so that's always going to be the case. But I feel like you were too much on the intro piece and didn't whet my appetite enough, because enough of the meat was not there. So depending upon how much time you have on a pitch, the intro part, the problem solution piece and who you are and your team and all of that certainly needs to be a fair enough chunk of that. But no more than 2 minutes out of a 6-minute, maybe a third kind of is a good way to think about it. But the slides look great. I totally agree with Krista. Your delivery spoke maybe a little bit too fast, but love the energy also. Extremely knowledgeable, extremely articulate, extremely impressive. You come off as all of that. I believe that you can succeed at this, which is, a huge part of the game in terms of coming across and giving that sense. The deck looked really nice. So I think just you need to rearrange the priority of the content.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Feel free to stop sharing. And then we will move over to Carlo. And then at the end, if we have time, we'll hear from Daniel.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
Ruth.
you, Ruth. Great job.
Cool. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Ooh, awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Carlo Manabat, the founder of Quia. We're a B2B2C platform providing a source of truth and potent marketing for the cannabis industry. And we actually got to this conclusion, the value that this brings into our space is because we've met with 18 clients of ours through our agency, consulted them and closed $300,000 with them. And we've also met with over 50 owners and executives in our space, and hundreds of professionals. So what we found is that the market is extremely siloed. It's fragmented services leading to spray and pray marketing and bad experiences for our customers. Imagine one of our beta partners right now, and you're spending $10,000 to $15,000 a month on your digital ad services, and you're not learning about consumer behavior, who your customers are, and ultimately how to serve them better and which products to carry. So we'll be introducing the first modern data platform in the cannabis space. So what that entails is really an analytics dashboard for users, the retail brands and retailers and brands, but as well as a consumer app. That's the B2C side of what we have. But our consumer app will be able to take the insights and provide deals that are targeted and making for happier customers, which is not the current climate right now. So how this product looks, we'll have an easy to use dashboard that provides real-time analytics and the data that our customers have been asking us for. But the consumer app is also super easy to use and intuitive and just gives the customers exactly what they want. And right now is a great time to introduce this technology in our space. And North America is actually leading the demand as well. So just basically more and more people are smoking cannabis, and policy just continues to be more friendly for the project we're building. And that's a great part of it too. With that demand, the retail and medical cannabis space is actually capturing a lot of that. And we want to capture further on to that. So there's 11.1 billion for us to work with if you include cannabis marketing. And of course, our product will be able to compete in traditional retail analytics. Now, there is competition in this space, of course. We're not the only folks in ad tech or marketing tech. But the great thing is a lot of our folks that focus only on the ad part, and we'll come in and really introduce the deep tech Silicon Valley mindset to the cannabis industry. So people have been excited about what we're doing. And people, I mean, folks that we've built communities with, folks that we've consulted, and actually many of the folks we consulted are moving on. And we were able to do demos, wireframe observations, and really build this, at a low cost before getting out to our MVP, which will be coming out this summer. We have 3 beta partners ready to go right now, 2 more being added, a whole pipeline of folks interested in joining the second phase. And I actually just met folks this weekend that want to be on the early partners that'll help us go to our verticalized upmarket. So how will we take advantage of all of this? So we actually just have a simple subscription model. One of the other big things that was a pain point for our customers is it's really hard for them to figure out what the pricing is on these ad-based services. So we'll give them a subscription model that's really simple, gives them that ability to actually forecast their costs on marketing. And right now we are working with those verticalized partners, meaning that they have both a retail and a brand aspect to their business. So we're working with partners now to harden the pricing and what the best price point is to enter the market. So some of the fun things we have going to market and the strategy behind it and what's worked for us is an account-led strategy to capture our B2B customers. And experiential marketing has actually been working really great in our industry that we've seen. And one of the fun things on this deck, one of these events we'll actually be doing with Shulman Rogers. We've been speaking to Laura and the cannabis team. So, so really exciting to have worked with y'all. And I also want to thank Shulman Rogers. I've spoken to one of those community building events we've had in the past. Now, sorry, give me a second. It's a little frozen. So we also have an exciting product roadmap. And I'll just point out like 2 things that are really important in here is we'll actually bring natural language or chat-based prompts to both our consumers and our retailers. So basically both B2B and B2C are going to get very modern, rich language features, which are not yet really found in cannabis. There's bots, but they're not true functions that work off of some of our partners like Twilio, Jasper, who have told us that they'll work only with us currently to enter the cannabis space. Then also we have our partnerships with Microsoft startups giving us access to Azure and OpenAI. And we were able to land our Anthropic access within a few hours. So we also have Claude that we're building our modeling from. And the other great thing is, look at this team. We've actually been part of projects in the past, both in enterprise and with small projects that you've seen with our consulting. So I've actually built a 9-figure pipeline for Microsoft in the past, working with companies like the IMF, fund data projects with the Republican National Committee and the Jeb Bush campaign. George, my co-founder, has done a lot of research with Hopkins from cancer now to elderly cognitive behavior and digitizing a lot of that and creating the attributions we need. And another fun fact, one of his past clients as a consultant was building a data set for a medical LLM. And moving on to CoolDip, our CTO, he's actually one of the best things that he's done to help us out is he helped develop CarMax's back-end infrastructure to compete with companies like Carvana. So another important aspect of that is they had to test that locally and nationalize it, building on an Azure stack, which is what we're using today. Now our, Ilya.
Carlos, sorry, you're over, so if you can wrap it up.
So yeah, Ilya, CMO, great dude, worked in alcohol, great advisors. Bernard Wright, I think, won the Shulman Rogers business last year. And what we're really asking for is $240,000 for our operations and to keep moving towards go-to-market fit. And the great thing is we actually have 20% committed and a great syndicate deep in conversations. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Closer to 7, but we
Yeah.
appreciate the shout out to Shulman Rogers, so I give you extra time.
Thank you.
And so glad that you're participating. I know about this event and so glad that you're connected and participating. Krista, feedback for Carlo.
Sure. So I thought you had a good tempo and good definition of the need. What I would have liked to hear more about was the market opportunity as a whole. And maybe that's more so me, because I'm more familiar with hair and makeup than I am with cannabis. So I'd like to hear how Lisa felt about that too. And I guess my only other piece of feedback was from a timing perspective. Maybe spend a little less time on team, highlight, one or two, and then, my thinking is we can always go look up who those folks are.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great tip, actually.
Yeah, exciting opportunity, Carlo, for sure. And I have no doubt while there is significant competition already there, this industry is obviously only growing, pun intended. But I think, generally for me, I still don't really have a handle of what you're actually doing. And I don't know if this is what Krista was trying to get. I'm not that I am more familiar with the cannabis industry. I'm certainly familiar with some of your competition, and we have, a practice group here within the firm. So I am a little bit more familiar. I get that you're going, B2B, you're helping with data analytics to help with marketing, but you had a few screenshots of your product, and I'm never one to necessarily argue that you have to talk about your product a lot, but I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite get your secret sauce. I didn't quite get how you fit within sort of the marketplace, what's currently there, the specific problems, that let's say a dispensary is trying to solve. Like specifically, how are you going to help the dispensary attract and engage, and create loyal customers and get more people through the door? I didn't really get that. On the B2C side, how is that different from, some of the bigger, you've got some bigger players in the room now. So generally I just kind of missed your secret sauce a little bit. And are you pre-revenue? Do you have an MVP product? You're not raising that much. So what is that, what's it for? Have you bootstrapped to date? I think the deck as a whole can be redone. It seems a little elementary, just in sort of its look and feel for me. A little bit more streamlined. I mean, you are a data play. You are talking about AI. You're talking about a level of sophistication, but yet the slides to me read not that. And just, that's just sort of a more of a branding, maybe disconnect. I wanted to hear more about your traction. Same thing with Ruth. Like, what are you do? Like, spend more time talking about the traction that you've received. whether it's a beta, whether, we're a small but mighty team, we've been able to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And then for me, in my old eyes, many of the slides had really, really tiny font and things. And it was just really hard for me to read. A lot of them had too much text on it as well. And then on your team, I didn't get a sense if anybody had a cannabis background. And maybe you don't, maybe nobody does, but if they did, then certainly that would be something, to want to talk about when you're talking about your team. But no doubt that the industry is growing and in need, and there's lots of space to play. I just didn't really fully understand what your secret sauce is and where you're gonna make a big impact.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
one question. Is there anywhere you think I could have spent less time?
Yeah, I mean, you lost me a little bit just in a couple of different places where I kept waiting for answers to some obvious questions and never sort of quite got it. So I think, to me, it's more your whole story needs to be adjusted a little bit. Not that you spent too much time on one thing and not enough time on another. I think the storyline, whereas I felt Ruth's story was a really great story and I followed it from beginning to end. But she spent too much time on any one given thing and then ran out of time for the meat. For you, Carlo, I feel like your story needs to change to sort of grab me from more of the beginning, help me understand what your secret sauce is, what's in play, what you've done. Does that make sense?
Sure thing. Thank you.
And love to open it up at this point, Ruth, Carlo, give feedback to each other. Daniel, George, I know you joined a little bit late, but would love to open it up to the room to, if any feedback for Ruth and or Carlo.
Oh, hello and good morning. Sorry I was a little late. I really appreciated the feedback and the understanding behind the story. It's something we've definitely been trying to craft a little bit more. And I think sometimes like having numbers tied to that story can help make that impact a little bit more graspable, right? So that's something that we've been trying to work with. And I mean, great feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Daniel, any feedback for Carlo or Ruth? Or Ruth, any feedback for Carlo and vice versa? Okay.
Let me get Daniel.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, Carlo, Ruth, do you guys have any questions before we move on and let Daniel fill up the last spot? Do you guys have any questions or about anything that you've heard from Krista or myself?
No, we're just gonna continue to synthesize. You're actually the second public pitch, so I get the feedback.
Awesome. Well,
So we're
that's
just
fantastic.
chopping at it.
And you know what? The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Your story is going to change a million times, Carla. If that's only your second time pitching, that sort of can explain a lot too. You're going to learn a lot each time you pitch, and you're going to get a lot of feedback. And just FYI, sometimes that feedback is directly contradictory to one another. It's going to happen if it hasn't happened already. Literally, like purple and blue, purple and red or purple and orange or whatever two different colors are. And the hard part is then figuring out what resonates with you, right? And how are you going to then tweak and modify your story based upon this feedback? And maybe you take a little bit from here and a little bit from here, and maybe you completely disagree with somebody. So that's going to be the harder part, I think, as you go forward, is just sort of distilling down their meat. And then depending upon how much time you have, 6 minutes can be a long time. Sometimes, you have 2 or 3 just to, at some of these bigger events, you have such a short period of time. But really appreciate you guys being here, and feel free to follow up with more questions, and please come back. We have some entrepreneurs that come back multiple times, and we love that. So Daniel, we have a few minutes if you would like to share your screen and give you the same 6 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, and sorry that I didn't have much feedback. I'm still very new to pitching myself, so I
No
don't try to tell the
worries.
doctor how to work on me. Let me share screen, screen 2, share. And is that coming through fine for everybody?
Yep, looks
Yep.
great.
Awesome. So my name is Daniel Carroll, and I want to tell you about MakeWell, your instant personalized healthcare guide. 2 years ago, my dad suffered a massive stroke. It was the kind that happens gradually over a handful of days with symptoms like slurred speech and clumsiness. To the untrained eye, it was easy to mistake it for tiredness and aging. My dad is the epitome of rugged American charm. He's resilient, determined, and strong-willed, so naturally, he assumed these strange feelings would just pass. But he collapsed and wasn't found for 2 full days. When I rushed to the hospital and saw him on life support, the questions overwhelmed me. And worse, the hospital seemed ready to fast track him out the door due to his lack of insurance and inability to pay. Having a deep understanding of large language models and a particular mastery of prompt engineering, I was thankfully able to use AI as an assistant. I built an AI tool that helps me know which questions to ask the doctors in the little time that I had with them, and how to make sense of all the information that was being thrown at me. Over the next few months, my dad made a remarkable recovery, despite the hospital discharge saying that he would need 24/7 care for the rest of his life. And that's when I knew that I had to put this tool into the hands of as many people as possible. I created MakeWell to make sure that this never happens to anyone else. I want to help create a world where anyone, regardless of their location, language, or financial means, has instant access to the information they need to manage their own health. MakeWell isn't just an app, it's the start of a revolution in accessible health, providing tailored advice, wellness plans, and health education to individuals across the globe. The average healthcare provider spends 15 minutes with each patient, 15 minutes to address every concern, deduce what your symptoms mean, find the best course of treatment, and answer all of your questions. If you're like me and most of our users, you don't even know which questions you should ask, let alone how to make sense of all the medical jargon. And we all know Googling your symptoms doesn't work. On top of that, only 12% of adults in the US have proficient health literacy, which leaves most confused about their conditions and treatment plans. It also leads to delayed care and higher rates of hospitalization for preventable issues. And existing AI healthcare tools don't have cognitive reasoning, so they only can operate within if-then scenarios and provide overgeneralized information in limited applications. We built MakeWell with proprietary cognitive AI. It isn't a chatbot sitting on the same one-dimensional framework everyone else uses. We built a new framework and worked with physicians to train MakeWell's AI to think like a doctor. It's designed to assess and react, understanding the nuances of health information and the dynamic ways people communicate their symptoms. It asks you questions instead of you having to know which details are relevant, and it adjusts explanations to your unique level of understanding. The result is an intuitive, personalized user experience that feels like you're texting a compassionate healthcare provider who knows your history. We're passionate about making it easier to manage your own healthcare journey, and we're right on time. The digital health market is booming. The AI healthcare segment alone is projected to reach $200 billion in the next 5 years. But here's the key. We aren't solving one problem from one angle. MakeWell, the consumer-facing app, is just the tip of our iceberg. We are building 9 additional solutions that leverage our proprietary core technology, including a provider-facing solution that will drastically reduce the physician's admin workload while keeping them compliant and helping rebuild patient trust. Our business model is strategically agile, designed for both impact and scale. We have multiple revenue streams, subscriptions, SaaS offerings, partnerships, and a path to profitability within 6 months. To bring MakeWell to market in the most impactful way, we soft launched with our beta version. This allowed us to complete our marketing testing in a controlled environment, minimizing risk and maximizing return before we invest heavily. With an initial baseline conversion rate of 15%, We're leveraging rich data-driven insights to optimize our user acquisition efforts and maximize return on spend. We also have a targeted PR and organic marketing funnels in place for our upcoming hard launch. Let's face it, the patient-provider relationship is fractured. There's little time and even less trust. Unlike competitors solving just one side of the patient-provider relationship, we take a holistic approach. It's not enough for us to just give patients a better experience. We're also giving providers, educators, and industry leaders the ability to deliver more optimal care. Makewell is powered by a team with passion for change and a proven track record of innovation. We bring together expertise in AI, healthcare, business, and marketing. Our medical advisory board is composed of seasoned physicians and healthcare experts who ensure our alignment with the highest standards of evidence-based care. And our lean hybrid hub model fosters agility, allowing us to allocate resources strategically and effectively mitigate risks as they emerge. We seek $2 million to reach our first 200,000 subscribers and launch 3 additional solutions in the next 12 months. But we're not just looking for capital. Most importantly, we're looking for strategic partners as we scale to enterprise. My dad is alive and healthy today because of Makewell. Healthcare as we know it is headed into uncharted waters. While most of the industry is just starting to talk about generative AI applications, we've already hit the market with generative AI that's also cognitive. We aren't catering to just one segment. We're fundamentally changing the healthcare landscape collaboratively with both partners and providers. My contact details are on the screen. Let's schedule a time to discuss how you can join our mission to democratize access to healthcare information.
Fantastic, Daniel.
Thanks.
So 6.5. 6.5. I thought you might actually get there with 6, but really, 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 really well done. Krista, feedback for Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, for not initially planning to present, I thought you did a really nice job. And it was, a good tempo. I liked the slides. The only thing I wanted to know a little bit more about was how you were going to make money. You showed me what money you were going to make, but I don't have a clear picture as to how the pricing structure works and who the customer is. So maybe just building that out a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved the emotional pull it, as terms of like a storytelling, really what we were talking about a minute ago, like really great job. You pulled us right in with an anecdote, emotional. I'm so sorry what your dad went through and your family went through. I think we all can relate. Going back to Chris's point before in terms of knowing the problem, I think we all know what a disaster, our healthcare system is. And you brought us in right off the bat and then talked about your own experience. You were able to slide that in there in terms of, building a large language model. For me, totally interested. And for that trailer to a movie, I would want to go watch the movie. What was missing for the trailer for me to really kind of leapfrog it a little bit more is a little bit more detail, not a lot, but just a little bit more detail on the LLMs that you're using. Like you glossed over it a little bit. But this is only as good as the accuracy. So any studies, what is the LLMs that you're pulling from? Is that proprietary? How did you get access to it? What are you building on top of it? What kind of hallucinations are you seeing? What use cases, are you seeing? The data that you've already pulled, and maybe you don't have a lot of this yet because you just did a soft launch, but you certainly have enough to explain what went into the product, and what accuracy you're seeing. Have you done any case studies or pilots with hospital organizations, anything to land to the credibility of the accuracy? That's going to be the critical sort of crux, because anybody that's paying at least a little bit of attention to this stuff will understand how it's going to work and the power behind it. But if you're not getting the right kind of information, the accurate information, that's really going to solve problems and prevent people from getting sick and being sick and staying sick, then you're just going to be another one of these AI tools right now that are trying to raise capital. So overall, like really, really great job, really strong, your cadence, the way you were speaking. Again, I really thought you were going to get in there under 6 minutes. But just a little bit more in terms of the product itself, how safe it is, how accurate it is, what's been done already. And you did a little bit of your go-to-market, but are you going to partner with some large doctor organization? Are you going right B2C, or are you going to go to B2B first? Like a little bit more on those types of issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but really, really great job.
Thank you.
And we'll open it up. Yeah, anybody, Mehdi, welcome. Taheri, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Anybody have some feedback for Daniel? By a group today.
Hi, my
think
name is Tajir. I just love the
Tajir, thank you,
storytelling.
welcome.
Yes, thank you. I just love the storytelling. I thought it was very compelling as well. So great job.
Thank you. Anybody else for feedback?
Yeah, I think awesome job with the story. It made it personal and relatable. Working in healthcare, I also see like, the impact of others who are not working directly in healthcare, but trying to make a difference with their loved ones is a very like emotional and powerful, story element. So I appreciate that. I think one of the things would be like the story part, not story, but the technology and the LLMs. Hallucinations is always a big thing, especially in healthcare. So I was curious about the case studies as well. I'm very intrigued because these are things that people are trying to solve right now, and addressing patients, like trying to figure out how they handle their treatments or what they're dealing with their condition, can be a nightmare. So would love to see that. I noticed you mentioned about someone from NHS. So is that in the UK? Was that like the UK health system?
There was a
I'm
quote from a cardiologist from the NHS that was one of our beta testers, and
Got
he
it.
commented on the efficacy of the chat functionality, of how it's so good at actually understanding what the user is saying and being able to give really useful and really predictable and really accurate feedback to the user based on that conversation. I wanted to maybe ask in the form of, how do I tune it? So there's obviously, if I included all of the stuff that I wanted to say about my application, I could drone on for 2.5 hours about it. How do we understand which are the most important parts of the presentation to provide based on the timeline that we're giving? Because I agree that 6 minutes is it's a generous amount of time for some of these types of events. I've been asked to do it in 60 seconds without any slides. But then I know a lot of times when you go in front of VCs or investors, it might be more of like a gathering around the conference table, and we've got 15 minutes on the clock. So how do we know which are the most important pieces of information that we should be including in our pitch when we have to compress it because of a time requirement?
Yeah. Krista, do you want to take that first?
Sure. I think sometimes you just got to touch on things and leave little nuggets that people say, they write it down and go, oh, I want to hear more about that. And so, because I think what you're talking about is an initial presentation followed by a Q&A. And so you always want to leave little breadcrumbs so that to help generate questions from the group, for which you've got, for lack of a better word, standardized answers. You're trying to feed the audience specific questions to ask more about.
Yeah, and I'll just add to Daniel, like every pitch has a different purpose, right? And I think you have to take into account that purpose, not just the allocation of time, right? Obviously, if you're in a pitch competition or, something for you know, an event or the media, like you may have a super short period of time and, you know, maybe you'll have time for Q&A, maybe you won't. You know, this is sort of, we try to balance that with giving you enough time to get some meat out there and get some real feedback with the 6 minutes. And then if you're sitting in an investor meeting, right, that you know, then you've already done a pitch for them to some degree, right? You're rarely going to sit in front of a room of investors with a 15-minute if they don't know anything about you. You've already done a pre-pitch or a pre-screen to some degree. So, you know, I think the baseline story from the very beginning could, if it needed to be, it could be shorter, right? It doesn't have to be, but it could be, right? I think there was an article that was done, I don't know how many months ago. I think it was in New York Times, but they basically did a study between real doctors responding to questions, right? And AI responding to questions. And on both fronts, it won in accuracy and it crushed it in terms of bedside manner, in terms of like who people prefer to interact with. So we know that that's coming. We know that this is going to be one of those uses. Who's out there? What competition is out there already? And then your traction, your secret sauce. How are you going to make it? Who's your team? Why are you guys going to be the one to succeed at this? What are you showing? Where do you get, you know, that nitty gritty of the LLM stuff? And here's where we are. And then here's our race. And our race is to get us from point A, you know, to point B. We've already accomplished all these things. You know, we're now looking to grow. And then you may have extra slides in terms of it's an investor meeting, like in the background, that if somebody asks you a specific question to dig into, then maybe, you know, you pull up one, like in a slide that's like in an appendix, if you will. But it really depends upon, obviously, the amount of time, but that's less important. It's more important the purpose of the pitch.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Really excited to see where Makewell goes. It sounds super, super exciting and interesting, and glad to see that your dad is alive and with us and doing well. Before we wrap up, any other comments or questions about anything in terms of either providing feedback to our 3 amazing entrepreneurs, asking Krista a question in her experience of meeting with tons of startup companies along the way? Any other final questions or comments? Okay. Well, really appreciate, Krista. Thank you so much for being here and for Deloitte for sponsoring Next Raise and being such a valued part of our community and giving such amazing feedback always. And to Ruth and Carlo and Daniel, really appreciate you guys being here, opening yourselves up to some constructive criticism and feedback. Hopefully you found it useful. Again, please come back. We do these pitch workshops on a monthly basis. And for everybody, please, you know, follow us on LinkedIn, sign up for our alert. We have monthly workshops and webinars, a variety of different kinds, all meant to provide really holistic value-added services to de-risk your startup journey. With that, have a great rest of your day. Happy Monday and have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.